Hey guys, now as the title of this video probably suggests, I'm going to be going over last two centers cases on 4x4 when using the Hoya method. So if you recall from Aaron Laprete's video, the introductory way of starting off with last two centers, once you're done with the Hoya cross, you want to move this front piece out of the way by doing F and L, and that gives you free reign of manipulating U and F without any chance of disturbing it. And then you'd restore it by doing L prime, F prime. Now there's been some discussion on the forums about whether or not it's ever necessary after doing the F to do the L, because doing that extra L may or may not require a regrip depending on your turning style, and either way it's an extra move, and no matter what, that all costs extra time. The purpose of this video is to show that you never have to do the L, and to give you some choices of some algorithms to choose from for different cases for avoiding having to do that. So one thing to keep in mind is, are you going to be starting last two centers by doing an F and putting the edge over here, or are you going to start off doing last two centers doing an F prime and putting the edge right there? For me, I always start off by doing an F. And the reason is that once I'm done with last two centers and I do the F prime to restore, I want my other finger back here ready to do a U, so that I could jump into 3-2-3 edge pairing for last 8 edges. And that's just the direction that I start off with. So if you usually start 3-2-3 doing a U prime, then you want to start off your last two centers by doing an F prime, so you'd start F, then U prime. Now, of course, if I really wanted to, I could be doing F, regrip, U, but sometimes if I do a U really quickly, it brings some layers out of alignment, so I find it much quicker to do. It's about a split second quicker, but, you know, every second counts. So, the way that I've categorized the last two centers cases is by how many of the F pieces are in the U layer. So, here's our first case. This is the zeros case, or solved case. None of the F pieces are in the U layer, so you wouldn't even have to do an F. You would just jump straight into last 8 edges. Simplest one. So, the next cases are the ones case, where we only have one piece in the U layer. So this forms a dot in the U layer, and the remaining pieces form an L down here in the F face. The L's can be in one of two ways. I like to call these the sitting L's, because both of the pieces touching the cross edge are solved, and these are the standing L's, where one of the pieces touching the cross edge is not solved. The sitting L's are the easiest ones. Now, one stumbling point that people can run into when beginning these cases is, where do I position the dot in relation to the L such that it's going to be the easiest to solve? And for every case, I like to consider this L an arrow pointing in the direction that the dot needs to be. So now the arrow is pointed down and to the left, the dot is up and to the right, so I do a U2, and I'm ready to go. The solution for this case is just R, U prime, R prime. And here is when the dot is going to be positioned up and to the left, and the solution for this is R, U, R prime. So that was the sitting L's. For the standing L's, this one is where the dot has to be down and to the right. And these I start off with R prime, and then I have a bar here which I will position next to the edge by doing L, F, L prime, and then R. And then the last case here is when the L is pointed up and to the right. So R prime, L, F prime, L, R. Now, another way of dealing with the standing L cases, if you are comfortable with doing M moves, still position the dot where it is in the direction that the L is pointing, but then you can do slice, position the newly formed bar, and then move the slice back. I'm not really comfortable with slice moves. I'm going to show certain ways of doing solutions with slice moves here, but most of the solutions that I use in speed solves is, of course, with just using wide turns. So those are all the ones cases. The next cases that we can run into, of course, are the twos cases, where we have two pieces in the U layer that are not solved. Now, the two pieces that are remaining either in the U or in the F, they can be positioned in one of two ways. They can either be right next to each other so that they form a bar, or they can be across from one another so that they're forming a slash. So these are the bar cases. Most of the time when dealing with bar cases, I try to solve this bar so that it's next to the cross edge. So you might have a bar that is here. So I would very quickly just do an L, F, L prime. And if the bar was here, it would be L, F prime. Ooh, sorry. If the bar was here, it would be L, F prime, L. And then this bar, once you have this in position, is always going to be to the left, so that you have two straight lines of solid color, and the solution would be R, U2, R prime. Now occasionally you'll get cases where the bar starts off all the way over here across from the edge. So if you wanted to, you could do an L, F2, L prime. You could even do a 3R, U2, 3R prime to get it down, and then solution. And then of course, if this F is here, just do, yeah. Anywho, one of the things that some people might do, once again, if you are comfortable with slice moves, do a slice. Put in the bar, and then bring it down. And one of the things I even find myself doing lately that maybe I should stop doing is that I might do, you can think of this in one of two ways, either R prime, F2, R, and then the edge is over here, so slam it down. Or you can think of it as L, U2, L prime, edge over here, slam it down. Those are all the bar cases, went over a lot of different ways, so pick what you like. The next cases that you can run into are the slash bar cases. For these, once again, no matter where the bar starts, I would want to bring it so that it's next to the edge. Even if the bar is across over here, I want to bring it so that it is next to the cross edge. And then the slash, I want to make it so that 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 colors are all in a row, so it's always going to be pointed up into the right. Is that a front slash? I think that's front slash. And that would be back slash. So for this, you would make it the correct form of slash by either doing a U or doing a U prime. Doesn't matter. I just did that backwards. Now there are two different algorithms that you can use here, and they're very similar. You can either do R, U, R prime, U prime, R, U2, R prime. Or you can do R, U2, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime. I just noticed this entire time that I've been doing wide R's, I've been saying just R. So keep that in mind if you're watching this video. I'm just going to keep calling it R because that saves syllables, which I wasted in explaining that to you. Anyhow, so yeah, those two algorithms are both very similar and they're both very quick. The one that I generally do is the RU, R prime, U prime, R, U2, R. Just because I'm used to doing that. That's where my muscle memory lies. So the next case that you can get is the bar slash cases, where bar in the top and slash on the front. And for these, I always position the bar over here next to the cross edge up top, and no matter where the slash is, really doesn't matter. I just started all the same way. It's R, U2, R prime, and in this case, it gives me another ones case. So position the dot by doing a U, and then whichever solution you want to choose, and mine of course is that. So here's when the slash is pointed the other direction. Once again, R, U2, R prime gives me a ones case, and then just solve the ones case. So there's that. The last case that we can get is the slash case. So when you have two slashes, the first thing that you want to do, no matter where the slash is locked in because of the cross edge, is have them pointing in opposite directions. But so here they're both pointed in the same direction, but I want it pointed like this. And you can think of this as pointed all towards the same corner, and if the slash was this way, they would all be pointing that way. Or you can think of it as these two colors match, however you want to recognize that. Now, how I was handling this for a long time was by doing R, U2, R prime, and giving me a double bar case. I didn't really like that though, so what I've been doing more often lately is by doing R prime, which gives me a bar, bring the bar over by doing, in this case, L, F prime, L prime, and then R2, U prime, R prime. Alright, so here it is. If the bars are pointing to the right, sorry, the slashes are pointing towards the right, in this case it would be R prime, L, F, L prime, R2, U, R prime. Alright, so those are all of the 2's cases. Next would be the 3's cases. These are very similar to the 1's cases, but this time we have an L in the top and a dot down in the bottom, which is locked in by the edge. Here's where the dots are touching the edge piece, and for these, point the L in the direction of the dot instead. So if it's over here, do a U2, and I would start this one off R prime, L, F, L prime, brings that bar over, and then R2, U2, R prime, to bring that last bar down. So this time the dot is pointing up into the left, so R prime, L, F prime, L, R2, U2, R prime. Alright, so now what if the dot is not touching the cross edge? Position the L so that it's pointing towards the dot. This is R, U, R prime, and gives me a bar case that I can work with, and then however you want to solve that. So for me, I would do that. Now the dot is pointing down and to the right, so it'd be, for me, my solution would be R, U prime, R prime 2, F2, R, and then slam in that last edge. And those are all of the 3's cases. Now the very last case that you can get, ooh, wow, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Okay, there we go. This is the 4 case, where all of the pieces from the F face are in the U layer, and you have to wind up moving all of them down. This is one for a long time I was still tempted to move the L out of the way because I was so sure I was going to mess it up. But instead, the solution that I use for this is, of course, F, and then R, U2, R prime 2, F2, R, and then slam in the edge. Which can be done fairly quickly with a little bit of practice. Whoa, what did I do? Oh, there it is. Weird. Don't know how I did that. Little known fact, my camera is my phone because I don't own a digital camera because I'm cheap. And I don't even have a tripod. My tripod is made out of Legos, so whenever I make these videos, I have like a very wide arm stance where I'm trying to do all of these finger tricks. I'm sure everyone has their own sob story for why it's so difficult to pull off algorithms while making videos, but that's mine. Anyways, I hope that you found something in there that you liked and that you were able to learn something new. As always, if you see a solution that I could be doing better, please let me know. I am just as interested in getting faster as anyone else is. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that and have a great day.